weeks after Christopher Suarez was killed by a hit-and-run driver, the family of 46-year-old Javan Christian is now speaking out after he was hit and killed last Wednesday near Mojave and Stewart.
You did not have to hit my son and leave the scene. You could have stayed, and you need to turn yourself in. You need to turn yourself in.
So News 3 taking an in-depth look tonight at Javan's case. Now, the number of hit and runs in our valley and what drivers should do if they are actually involved in one of these hit and runs. Our Will Silverstein is following all of these leads for us tonight. He's joining us now live from the intersection of Mojave and Stewart. And Will, where do we stand so far this year when it comes to traffic fatalities and hit and run crashes?
Well, Latoya, good evening. We are up from 2024. That is where we stand so far this year as we stand at the intersection where Javan Christian lost his life. We're looking at 8 open fatal hit and run cases so far right now in 2025 compared to those 3 in 2024 at around this time last year. Also 8% up in fatal collisions altogether as once again the family of Javan Christian looks to seek justice.
I didn't deserve to lose him, and he didn't deserve to die like a piece of trash.
Kimberley Christian grieving the loss of her son, Javan Christian. The 46-year-old was hit around 10:20 p.m. last Wednesday night while Javan was in the crosswalk. He succumbed to his injuries at the scene. Kimberley telling News 3 of a fractured relationship between her and her son that was on the road to repair before tragedy struck.
And we were working our way back, so I mean, it's very disheartening that he's gone and we didn't get an opportunity, to, make that closure.
The car that hit Javan, a white Chevrolet Malibu that investigators found abandoned east of the crash. And the suspect, they remain at large.
So the only update that they have is it was a rental car out of California. So now it's become a multi-state issue. They said that they're not saying they can't solve it, but it's going to just be a little more complicated.
If someone's hit by a rental car, the rental car company doesn't have liability.
If traffic cameras or DNA samples from the vehicle failed to yield back results, the only way to track the driver may be through the rental car company. Attorney Nima Romani says that the company is unlikely to be held liable for the crash, stating the drivers essentially assumed temporary ownership of the vehicle through proof of their car insurance.
They're supposed to carry their own insurance under Nevada law. And there's a federal law called the Graves Amendment that generally says rental car companies aren't liable as the registered owner of vehicles.
Hit and runs are all too common in Nevada. There have been more than 3,000 this year alone, and surprisingly, that's down from 2024. Javan's death marking the 8th open hit and run fatal of 2025. Pedestrian fatals are also up from 47 last year to 53 this year, and fatal collisions are also up from 116 this time last year to 125 this year. Romani telling News 3, despite the frequency of hit and runs, the penalties against the offender rise even more when the offenders leave the scene.
Not only is it a crime, but leaving the scene is evidence of consciousness of guilt. So even if it's not your fault, if you end up leaving, your leaving can be used against you. Even if you kill someone by leaving the scene of the accident, that will make the case much, much worse.
In the meantime, Kimberly's still waiting for the person who hit her son to turn themselves in.
My message would be that you did not have to hit my son and leave the scene. You could have stayed, I mean, it's just, you treated him like trash.
And one additional note when we're thinking back to the rental car aspect of this is that if this rental car was driven by an actual employee of the rental car company, then that's when you can start to see some liability towards the rental car company. But as Romani explained, that ownership is essentially passed on to the person who, with their proof of insurance, able to drive that car. And so investigators, you would have to imagine, are now looking at that rental car company, figuring out where that was and making sure that they are able to then track the identity down from there if the cameras are unable to do so.
Yeah, but it would seem like the rental car could be able to do that because they know who rented the car at least. We'll have another question for you. I know the attorney that you talked to has seen plenty of these hit and run cases. Did he say anything regarding the biggest reasons why people tend to leave the scene?
The one is the number one thing that you would imagine, which people would usually seem to want to flee for, which is that to avoid responsibility. The other one tends to be that people are scared. They don't know what to do. That's why they drive away as well. The third one, and it kind of ties back into the first, is its relationship to not being actually allowed to drive the car. That may be unlikely in this case, given what you have to prove to be someone who can drive a rental car, unless, of course, your identity is forged there as well. But the Christian family is still searching for answers during this incredibly difficult time, Latoya.
Yeah, it seems like at least trying to figure out who rented the car would be the first step, and that maybe would lead to who is responsible for this. Thank you so much. Our thoughts with that mother. Your heart just breaks listening to her lament what happened to her son. We appreciate you. Thank you so much, Will. Well, an emergency landing.